The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network.
Golf Talk Live is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips Magazine. Here's Andrew to tell you more about our sponsors.
iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Welcome to Golf Talk Live with your host, Ted Odorico. Join Ted each week as he speaks with some of the best in golf. This week's special guest will join us a bit later. But first up is another great discussion on Coach's Corner. So let's introduce tonight's Coach's Corner panel.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Season 13 of Golf Talk Live. I'm your host, Ted Odorico. We've got a great show for you this evening. We're going to be starting things off here in just a moment with another great discussion on Coach's Corner. And then a little bit later on, I'm going to be bringing back in, of course, our travel segment with my good friend and co-host and travel expert, Robert Kaufman, alongside this evening's special travel guest. And then a little bit later on, I'm going to be joined by Fraser Marriott. He's the head of golf for Lightspeed Commerce. He's going to be joining a little bit later on in the broadcast as well. So you want to make sure you stick around for that. Just a couple of announcements. We were going to be joined by another gentleman, Pete Buchanan, on the Coach's Corner. Unfortunately, he's not able to make it. And congratulations to Pete and his family as they welcome a new addition. Their grandson is joining them today. So obviously he's at the hospital with family and enjoying that new special addition to their family. So obviously Pete had to bow out for tonight, but we'll get more all the details the next time he comes on the program and get us to maybe he'll send us a picture we can pop up here on the screen. But not to worry though. We've got a great guest, a good friend of mine is going to be joining us on the panel. But let me also mention to watch the show, including previously aired episodes. You can visit the iGolf Sports YouTube channel or go to Spotify.com. You can also listen to the audio version at Spreaker.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, iGolf Sports, and get notified as new episodes get added each and every week. Also, if you want to become a premium member of our new website, golftipsmag.com, and gain access to premium content, plus special discount from our premium partners and sponsors, you use promo code GolfTips25 and get 25% off the regular membership price. This offer is available until July 31st, so don't wait. It's going to be expiring here in just a few days. We have three premium membership levels to choose from: silver, gold, and platinum, all equally full of great perks and special discounts, I mentioned, from some of our premium partners. So go to golftipsmag.com and register today for one of our premium memberships. All right, as I mentioned, we're going to be starting things off with Coach's Corner. My good friend Jon Decker, the Director of Instruction at the Medallion Club in Columbus, Ohio, is here on the panel tonight. And he's also a senior contributing editor and a top 25 instructor with Golf Tips Magazine. He was the 2015 Southern Ohio Teacher of the Year and author of two books, Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game, and Fairways to Heaven, One Shot at a Time. He's also available for public speaking upon request. So please welcome to the show once again, my good friend, Jon Decker. Jon, welcome back. Thank you, Ted, for having me on the show tonight. Well, I appreciate it. Always a pleasure having you on. And I hate that Pete's not going to be joining us, but certainly I'm pretty sure he's on cloud nine right now. So yeah, we're not going to hold that against him, and we're excited for him and his family. So again, congratulations to the Buchanan family for their new addition. So, all right, so we're going to talk about some of the top issues affecting the golf swing, and this is a lot of different things. So I'm going to sort of unpack this a little bit, and then I'm going to get you to unpack a little bit. So what we're going to talk about is a number of issues, and I want you to talk about some of the what sort of cause and effect, if you will. So what the cause typically of this particular issue that I'm going to bring to bear here, and then sort of talk about some of the remedies that you would put together with your student on how to sort of overcome or how to recover from that. So one of them is obviously over the top. This is one that we hear quite a bit from some of our students. So what is typically one of the causes of coming over the top, and how would you go about trying to correct that with one of your students?
Well, Ted, this is probably one of the most common things I see in teaching golf, and especially with men, because men tend to want to muscle the ball using their upper body. But the mistake that a lot of people out there make is they try to fix the over the top without fixing the problem. And the
Right.
problem, the root of the problem, is an open club face. Now, the open club face, typically, if I were to put a percentage on it, I would say about 80% of the time, it's because of the grip. It's usually a weak, if you're a right-handed golfer, a weak left-hand grip. But not always. Sometimes the grip can be not the issue. The takeaway can have a big influence on that. So if someone rolls the club back because the wrists are a hinge, and so if you're swinging the club back and you're rolling the club back and you're opening the face, I've seen people who have really nice grips, and by the time the club gets waist high, I'll show them on video and I'll say, you took that really nice grip and now it's not a nice grip. You've got the face wide open. So that's the second, main thing that I would look at. And then there could be other things. Over the top could be caused by your distance from the ball. Ball position could affect that as well. But typically, 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10, and the percentages I gave you, it's in the grip, and that starts the domino effect.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think it affects the sequencing as well, because again, a lot of people try to muscle, as you said, especially the men. I mean, we're all guilty of that at times. We want to, get that extra distance. So we're sort of muscling the ball out there. But yeah, everything starts with connection to the golf club. If you got a poor grip to start with, that throws your body alignment out and so forth. And obviously ball position, other things can become a factor as well. So some great points there and things to take in. I always go back, and I know I mentioned him a lot on the show, but I always go back to Nicholas. Nicholas always talked about at the beginning of the season how it was important for him to sort of go over and rehearse the fundamentals again and make sure that he had those sound, because if you're starting out with poor fundamentals each year, then it's going to, sort of parlay into some bad swing habits and things like that. So he always wanted to make sure that was number one thing that he worked on at the beginning of each season, is he wanted to make sure he had this sound fundamentals, working on the grip and the posture and the stance and things like that. So, I mean, here's a guy that went ahead and won many, many majors and many other tournaments and finished, even runner-up more than I think just about anybody else, ever been on the tour. So, he was doing something right. So, words to live by, I guess. But some great points there. Another one too, I think, John, is we see this a lot is with, and these kind of, I guess these two you can put together, is poor balance. And that a lot of times can be a result of bad posture. So maybe you can talk about that, people getting into not a good posture and as a result have very poor balance in their golf swing.
Yes, the balance is an issue that you see all the time with all kinds of players, young and old. In fact, I was just doing a junior clinic today, and one of the things I have my juniors do is I'll have them stand on one leg and just see, okay, I want you to stand on one leg. Let's test your balance. And then I'll have them stand on the opposite leg. And usually that's not a big deal for a junior to do. But then I have them close their eyes. And when you stand on one leg and you close your eyes, if you can do it for 30 seconds, you're doing pretty well. It's very difficult to do. Those are things that for people out there listening, those are things you can do at home. And I think, make sure that you're being careful if you're at home. You could be up against a wall and have your hand on the wall or have your hand near the wall so that if you do lose your balance, and I don't want anyone to fall or anything, but those are ways that, you can test your balance. But when you're looking at the golf swing, you're right. There's a lot of reasons why people lose their balance. But the number one thing that I want people to understand is when you're swinging that golf club, you are producing centrifugal force. And centrifugal force is, if I take a piece of rope and I just hold the piece of rope, it's going to kind of lay toward the ground. But if I start swinging it like a lasso, like a cowboy swinging a lasso, it's going to rise up. That's centrifugal force. When you swing a golf club, you produce centrifugal force, and that straightens you up. And as soon as you start straightening up, you're going to lose your balance. And so and you're going to stop your rotation. The only way you can counter that is by rotation. So I've always thought that when I look at someone who has poor posture, 9 times out of 10, their distance from the ball is not right. So they might be standing too far from the ball, which is going to cause them to bend over too much, or they're going to stand too close to the ball, which is going to cause them to be too upright. If you take a golf swing and think about it, you're swinging a club. The average golfer out there might be swinging between 75 and 100 miles an hour. When you think about how fast that is. When you're driving a car, 75 to 100 miles an hour, that's fast. Well, you're swinging a club at 75 to 100 miles an hour or more if you're a better player. That centrifugal force is straightening you up, and that stops your rotation immediately, and that's usually going to lead to fat, thin shots, all kinds of problems. So, posture has a big part of that. And that's something that you definitely, one of the first things that I will look at as a teacher when I'm assessing someone's golf swing.
Is there a drill that you like, a favorite drill that you have for helping people get into that good posture and also helping to find their balance?
Yes. When I'm having someone set up to the ball, I describe it as, your 14 clubs in your bag. We're going to take the putter. We're not going to use the putter really in this one. But in the full swing, which you have 13 clubs, each one of those clubs has a different length to them. So they're like measuring sticks. So what I try to do is get my students to bend from their hips and bend from their knees and let their arms hang straight down. And where their arms are hanging straight down, that will be where that's going to be where they hold the clubs with an iron. Now, if they're hitting a driver or a 3-wood or even a hybrid, they're going to extend their arms out from their body just a little bit because the clubs are longer. That club is dictating your posture. Now, that's on a level lie. Let's say we're on a perfectly level lie. Well, as you all know, when we get out on the golf course, the lies aren't always level. So when you get on these uneven lies, now you have to account for that as well. So there's a lot of adjustments that are made to that. But if you're standing, on a mat and you're doing it, then you want to learn to do it on a level lie first, because you have to master that first. And that posture and distance from the ball, they go hand in hand, and the club that you have, because your posture changes with every club. I do not have the same posture with a driver as I would with a putter, because I have a 45-inch club versus a 35-inch club. So those are two totally different club lengths. So my postures with a driver is going to be more upright, with a putter is going to be bent over more. So the club and the lie really are what's going to dictate your posture. And so that's something that I would recommend doing. I did a video on this. I don't really have it's not really a drill, but just illustrating what I just said. And if you go to deckergolf.com under full swing, that is measuring yourself to the ball, I think is the way I labeled it. I've got about 75 videos or so on that in just the full swing section on my website. But that video is on the website.
Yeah. And you're so right. I mean, it's like we've talked so many times on the show. If you're not getting into a good posture from the get-go, there's a multitude of things that can happen. It's reactionary. So if you're, as you talked about earlier, if your grip is not good, then that throws things out of alignment. If your posture is not good, that throws other things out of alignment. And balance, of course, you have to be in balance when you're swinging, because again, like you said, 70, to 100 miles an hour, you're swinging that golf club. And just the pure centrifugal force is going to throw you off balance very easily if you're not set up in a good posture. So it's very easy to get out of, get off balance and to get out of posture if you're not set up properly from the get-go. So it's important to work on those things. And I couldn't agree more. And you give some great examples. And we'll remind the folks at the end of this segment to visit your website to see more of those videos, and you can point them to specific areas if you want. This is something too, Jon, that I found interesting when I was getting ready for tonight's show. This one particular here, and it'll make perfect sense to everybody in a moment. But, we used to see, especially with taller players, we would see a lot of people would over rotate. We would see them take a huge, onset of people like John Daly, who, practically wrapped the club around, and everybody wanted to emulate that. So, we saw a lot of people trying to force that into a sort of an overextension of the backswing. Well, then, people sort of, in the golf business said, well, you need to shorten that backswing a little bit. Well, now we run into a problem where you're seeing people are trying to shorten that backswing, but they're not doing it really correctly. They're just using their arms and just not going back as far. So they're not completing the backswing. So when somebody's not completing the backswing, first off, what are you looking for as a coach when you're watching your student and they're getting into a backswing? What are some of the key areas that you're looking for?
Well, I think the thing that I've really changed in my teaching and with my own game is I was for years trying to teach students to totally resist with their lower body, to have, you're going to have some, you're going to have some hip turn. I'm not saying you're not going to turn your hips, but trying to have a real resisting, keeping the feet more on the ground. I'm totally changed on that now. I believe, especially as I've gotten older. I look at Jack Nicklaus, I look at Sam Snead, I look at Ben Hogan, I look at all of the classic golf swings for years. The left heel came up, and the left heel coming up helps to get that full shoulder turn. If you're trying to keep your left heel on the ground and make a shoulder turn, it's going to be very difficult unless you're about 15. If you're a teenager, yeah, that's not a big deal. But when you're an adult, and I think, a lot of the people that are listening and watching the show are probably in the age range where flexibility is an issue when it comes to golf. And so lifting the left heel, if you're a right-handed golfer, in making that turn is very important. On occasion, I have had students where I will actually have them turn their right toe out a little bit more to get a little bit more flexibility or a little bit more movement. I'm not a huge fan of that, but if and that would be something that maybe in 10% of the students I work with, I'll give that to them. Usually it's for students that are maybe over the age of 70. That might be a good tip as well, because that will help you. Keep in mind, if you start opening that toe up, you can start incorporating some swaying and some over movement, and now all of a sudden you're creating other problems. So just kind of be careful with that. But the lifting of the left heel, in my opinion, is something that will really help you to make that shoulder turn, get more power. And Jack Nicklaus said when he was aging and still trying to play competitively, like on the Champions Tour, he said his swing thought was complete your backswing. That was his swing thought, to complete his backswing. And because he lifted the heel, and in my opinion, had one of the greatest swings of any player to ever play the game.
Yeah, he had a very unique swing, and it was one that a lot of people early on tried to copy. The one thing I do want to point out, and people need to understand this about lifting the heel, is it's a result of the turn.
Correct.
What I often see a lot of people do is they'll sort of lift the heel up before they've even really started moving into their backswing. That's not what we're talking about. What you want to do is you want to turn, and as you start to feel the tension build and you're feeling that torque happening, it's okay to lift it up. And again, you don't have to lift it way up. You have to lift it up just enough that you're able to complete that backswing. And for some people, for you, it might be a little bit more. For me, it might be a little bit more. So it varies, and that's something you have to experiment a little bit. But I want to just point that out because I see a lot of people on the range that, especially older people, and I'll see them sort of lifting that leg up as they're, before they're even really getting into the backswing. And so I want to make sure it's a result of the backswing itself, or the result of the turn. So you want to be careful of that. Alignment's another one, John, that I think a lot of people just seem to miss the boat on. I mean, I see people, they get up there, they're looking down the line and say, okay, I know where I got to aim now. And they get up to the ball and they're aiming completely different than what they sort of visualized. So how do we, get that alignment correct for them as well? What can we do? Maybe you can throw a drill in here as well that you like to do, or something that you recommend people to make sure that they're aligning. What are they looking for first off?
Well, the first thing that anytime I deal with anyone on alignment, the first thing I want to know is their eye dominance. You need to know your eye dominance. And a lot of people don't. I'm amazed. I do clinics for years, and I'll have groups, and I can tell everyone what their eye dominance is. All you have to simply do is take your hands and put them together and put them up in front of your face and look at something, and then close one eye and then close the other. And you'll figure out really fast which eye is dominant. Everyone has an eye dominance. And just because you're right-handed does not mean you're right eye dominant. I am right-handed and I'm left eye dominant. So this has really affected me in my alignment. If I, for example, get on the right-hand side of the tee box, I have a much better opportunity to line up properly, even though I like to play a draw on most cases, than if I get on the left-hand side of the tee box, because of the way I perceive things. So, everyone is different with eye dominance. So that's one of the first things. But when I'm standing behind the ball and I'm aiming, I form my target line. That's the first thing I'm doing. I like to close my right eye and hold the club up in front of me and kind of put it over the ball and looking down at the club. And this is from behind the ball, obviously. and I'll cover the ball, and then I'll point it at a target. It could be a tree or whatever I'm aiming at. That helps to give me my target line. And then from there, once I have my target line, I want to walk in and try to get my body parallel to that. So you're always trying to be parallel to your target line for a standard shot that you're trying to hit. So that will help you on the golf course. Knowing your eye dominance, I think, is important. But the best way and the number one teaching tool that I see out on the PGA Tour is the alignment sticks. Using alignment sticks is a must. You need to be doing that. And I don't care. I tell my students this all the time, even my really elite juniors that are going on to play collegiately. I tell them, you are never going to be good enough to not have to use this, because you are going to fall into bad habits, and you're not going, and it's subtle. It's just a subtle little, okay, you're getting closed with your feet, or you're getting open with your feet, or you're getting your shoulders open or your shoulders closed. Little things get off. And then all of a sudden it creates a domino effect. And it may not happen for a round or two, but after a week or two of it, that's when you start getting off. And that's when you quite frankly need to get a lesson. And you need to get that lesson. Don't wait till you're about to jump off the bridge and you're going to give up on golf. Wait till once you see yourself, struggling on the golf course, getting yourself lined up. That's something that's when I would go find a PGA golf professional and try to get instruction as well. But the last thing I'll say on alignment is on the golf course, people will tend to line up based on their ball flight. So if they're a slicer, they're going to tend to aim more to the left. Well, the more you aim left, the more it's going to slice. If you're a hooker, the more you aim to the right, the more it's going to hook. So my miss when I'm not playing well is left. So I 9 times out of 10, when I start missing it left, I'll hit a shot and it goes left. I'll put a club down by my feet. I'll walk back there and look at it, and oh my gosh, I'm aimed 20 yards right of my target. No wonder I hooked it like that. So that is where being aware of your tendencies and what's going on and your ball flight and making sure that you're checking those boxes and getting that setup. It all goes back to the setup. Making sure that you get that setup right is going to be critical in alignment.
Yeah, and it's a great point. It's funny because I remember a few years ago, I had the opportunity, they had locally here at one of the courses, the final round of the Q Series for the LPGA. And I would always make a point of going out early to watch the young ladies, teeing up on the range and working, getting prepared. And it's interesting you say that, and there's a reason why the pros do it, but you'll see them, almost every one of them, lay down alignment sticks. And, you raised a really interesting point, because you talked about, when you're playing a lot of golf, particularly after a while, you start to get a little fatigued and your muscles will tense up. So what happens naturally is you start to compensate when things are a little bit tense. You relax a little bit more on this side, or you do something different, or you move until it feels comfortable. Well, now all of a sudden your shoulders are way open or closed, or whatever the case may be, or you're relaxing another part of your body. So it's always good to do that check. And it goes back to what we said earlier, with Jack Nicklaus. I mean, he would do a lot of that stuff, and I know he used alignment sticks as well. He used other things. Well, he actually used golf clubs. He would lay golf clubs. Those were his alignment sticks more often than not if you watched them in video. But essentially, it was accomplishing the same thing. And it was, again, he wanted to make sure, and again, this is the best player in the world for many, many decades. If he's laying clubs down in his case, or alignment sticks, then when you see an amateur golfer out there that's busting to break 100, why are you not doing the same thing? Yeah. They don't cost very much. You can get them, for next to nothing. Make your own. If you're that cheap, go out and make your own. Go to your local Love's or Home Depot, and you can get, some thin dowels or something like that, and just get them cut to a few feet and lay them down there. If you're cheap enough to, that you don't want to go and buy alignment sticks, they're not that much. So, but it's just interesting. But you raised some great points, and we want people to become better. But again, really the purpose of Coach's Corner is, and sometimes I know it sounds like we're stating the obvious, but it's amazing how many people that I talk to, every week, who still don't get a lot of the simplest things. Yeah. And it's because they don't practice. They don't think about that. They're so busy thinking about, how can I muscle the ball out there? How can I generate more power? And that's great if that's what you want. But if all of the other stuff isn't in sync, it doesn't matter how much power you've got. If you're doing everything wrong, all you're going to do is you're going to amplify that slice or that hook or whatever it is. So let's work on hitting the ball properly first, getting it in balance, getting the ball airborne naturally. And we're going to talk about that in a minute because this is another one that stymies a lot of people. But getting it online and getting it on target. And if you're not getting a good grip and getting all these things established right from the get-go, then we can work on developing more power and to help you get more distance. But let's get the darn thing going straight first.
Yeah.
Before you worry about the other. This is one here, Jon, and this makes me laugh. And you see this more often, particularly with the irons, but everybody's trying to lift the ball. They don't seem to understand that the club is there to do the work for you. And if you do everything correctly, the ball will do what you need it to do, and that's to get the ball airborne. What's happening here? Talk about that a little bit. What is it that people are doing that you're seeing when they're trying to force that lifting of the ball, and what do they really need to be doing? What is it they're doing wrong, and what is it they really need to be doing?
Well, it starts with the ball position. I think that the majority of people that I see play the ball too far back in their stance. And this is, there are times to move the ball back in the stance, but I don't like to see the ball go past the middle of so if I'm setting up, I think back in my stance is like where my sternum is. Anything forward of my chest or sternum, to my left heel is going to be where I'm going to be playing the ball position. So obviously the driver will be the most forward, and then there's not much difference between the driver and the 9-iron, really. There's about maybe an inch and a half, 2 inches. And if I'm going to a sand wedge, hitting a full shot with a sand wedge, I'll play it, in the middle of my stance. But my feet are more narrow, so I'm not going to have as wide a stance with a sand wedge as I would a driver. So yes, it starts with the ball position. People play the ball right of center, so they're playing it back toward their right shoulder, and they're trying to keep their weight back and lift the ball off the ground. The other thing the other reason why they do this is the majority of people have too weak of a grip. And so a weak grip and the ball position back is a remedy for a handsy golf swing where they're trying to lift with the hands, scoop with the hands, or they're trying to lift with the arms. And so those two kind of go hand in hand. You're exactly right. The weight of the iron, you're supposed to use your body weight and the rotation of your body weight to allow the club to hit the ball first, the ground second with an iron. And then with the driver, we're hitting more up on the ball. So we are hitting up on the ball with the driver, but with an iron, we're hitting down on the ball. And that downward descending blow is what creates the divot. So we're hitting the ball first and then the ground. If you're not making a divot, then you are losing distance, and you are only going to be able to play golf when you have a perfect lie. You have no chance when you're out of the rough, no chance at all. So you've got to learn to hit the ground, not the top of the grass. You've got to learn to hit the ground. And yes, you are supposed to make a divot. So a lot of my students, I can't tell you how many beginners I teach, they'll make a divot and they go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that." And they immediately go run and grab it. And I'm like, no, that's fine. You're supposed to do that. That's okay. Right. I always tell them, we know how to grow grass. We'll grow that back. So, learning how to make a divot, I think is one of the most important parts of learning to be a good iron player. Now, some people make too much of a divot. That's another problem. But for the illustration of what you just said, the people that are trying to lift the ball off the ground, if they make a divot, their divot is 4 or 5 inches behind the ball. Because hanging back and trying to lift the ball off the ground is not the way to get the ball in the air. You're trying to use the loft of the club, hit the ball first, ground second, and that loft will put spin on the ball, get the ball launched in the air, and depending on what club you're using, make it go a certain distance.
Yeah, and I think it also, Jon, I wanted to mention this a little bit too, is I think part of the problem that a lot of amateur golfers have is they don't know where the low point of their swing is, especially with their irons. Again, as you mentioned with the driver, you're hitting more on the upswing, so it's a little bit different. But they don't know in relation to their body where the low point is. So when they're swinging, the best way to do that really is to swing the iron and just sort of clip the grass and see where it's hitting. And then you don't want your ball in front of that. You want your ball actually just slightly behind that, so that you're making contact with the ball before you make that low point in your golf swing. And another way to do it as well, And again, for right-handed golfers, is when you're holding your club in your left hand, really about right around the ball joint or maybe even around the armpit of your left arm, usually typically will be about where the low point of your swing is as you're rotating and you're coming back in. So again, but if you're making a lot of lateral movements, that can shift.
Yeah.
So you have to be careful of that. So that's why it's important to really swing the club. And it might be slightly different. Again, it's not going to be a huge difference for everybody. But again, depending on your body style and that, it might be slightly different. It might be as much as a half a ball difference from maybe between you and I. But you have to find that low point, especially for your irons. And once you do that, and it typically tends to be, again, a little bit more forward of center for most cases, but you need to find that and then position the ball accordingly. Because if you're hitting way behind the ball, that means you've moved your low point of the golf swing behind where the ball is sitting, and that's why you're hitting it fat.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things as well, but that's something that a lot of people need to be aware of. And I know coaches teach that, but again, because people don't practice as much as they should, they don't know or they forget where it is, and then they start. And this brings us into the last one here, is poor weight transfer or poor weight shift. We see this all the time, especially with tall players have a real hard problem with this. I know when I was younger, this was a sort of a stymie for me, is I got a lot of lateral movement in my golf swing, and I've had to really get more of a turn into it as opposed to a shift. Yeah. So talk about that as well. Talk about some of the issues with weight transfer or poor shift, if you will, and what people really need to be focusing on.
Well, I was recently talking to one of the guy that he works with biomechanics, and he works with fitness and does his name is Bill Williams, and he's here in Ohio. And I was talking to him, and he said, when you play golf on one leg. And I was like, you're right. I never really I'd never in my life had ever heard that. In the short game, you're putting all your weight on one side usually, and you're playing your shot. But in the full swing, you're setting up, your weight is 50-50. You go back, all of your weight turns into your right hip. You turn around that right hip, you turn the shoulders back, and then you transition into your left hip, and then you turn around that left hip. And so the weight shift is happening because of the rotation of the body. It's not a side-to-side motion. So our body works three different ways. It works down to up. So I'm bending from the waist down to the ground, and I come up. That's one plane of motion. Then I can go side to side. That's the second plane of motion. And then the third plane of motion is the turning back and through. And so when you set up to the golf ball, you use all three of those planes of motion, but two of them are in the setup. So you bend over, like we talked about earlier. That's the first plane of motion. You tilt your shoulders, which is important. You're dropping your right shoulder and your left shoulder's higher. You take your grip. That's the second plane of motion. And then from there, you turn back into the right hip. You turn back into the left hip. That's the rotational part. So that's a real important factor to understand in how the weight shift occurs. Now, some drills for this. There's a ton of drills. You can hit off downhill lies. That's a great way to work on your weight shift. Yep. I've got on my website, I've got all these transitional drills. There's tap and go drill, the step forward drill. There's the step through drill. Those are three drills. But a real simple way to work on your weight shift is anyone can do this. Take a towel, like a small towel, like a golf towel or a bathroom towel or something like that, and put it on the ground, lay it on the ground, and put your golf ball right in front of that, and then set up to the ball. And the idea is to swing and hit the ball and not hit that towel. This is kind of combining the weight shift and what we just talked about in making the divot. And that's a great way to visually say, wow, I don't want to hit back here where the towel is. And if you do hit the towel, you're not going to hurt anything. The towel will just fly in the air and you can do it again. But I'm amazed when you put that down there, because it's not going to hurt if you hit it. But when you put that down there, that's a great way to do it. Because a lot of people who are practicing golf in the winter months, for example, or they may go to a driving range that does not allow you to hit off grass. They're hitting off mats. They're hitting shots and go, oh, I've got this. I'm doing great. When in reality, they're not, because the mat allows the club to slide into the ball still, and they can hit a half inch behind the ball and still hit a decent shot. When you put that towel down there, you have clear-cut evidence of whether you've done it correctly or you haven't done it correctly. That is a cheap, easy way right there to go out and have a good quality practice session with your iron play. And I think that'll help the listeners out there.
Yeah, that was something I remember when I was really young. I remember going to the driving range with my father, and he said, "Well, come on, we're going to hit some balls before we go out and play." And this was at a local range, and then we were going to drive down the street to a course. But he said, "Let's go up here and we'll just practice a little bit and have a little more privacy." And the first thing I did is I went over where the mats were. So I thought, well, these are cool. Let's do that. And he said, no. He said, we're going down a little further where the grass is. And I said, well, why? These are perfect. They're set up. There's a little rubber tee there for the driver when we're ready to do that. And I can hit off this nice, plush looking grass. And he said, no, for the very same reason. He said, because the mats are meant to be a little more forgiving. And because the club head will slide, you're not, again, you could hit half an inch or even an inch behind and still come off with a pretty decent shot and think, oh, okay, that's not so bad. Then you get out into the golf course and you do the same thing. And now the dirt's flying and the ball's sculled, or it's, hit some other thin shot or what have you. And you're sitting there thinking, well, I feel like I'm hitting the same as I was on the range. So I'm a big proponent. I know people in the industry that are going to hear me say this are going to hate it, but I don't like hitting off the mats for that very reason. And also, too, a lot of times what people don't know, I know some of the newer locations are better, but back at that time, they used to have concrete underneath. And the problem is, even though the mat's a few inches thick, it's very solid. There's no forgiveness. Yeah. So if you hit down on that, I've seen people break their clubs. Yeah. So I don't want to discourage anybody for going to ranges. If they have mats, I know that they can be good, but I just like hitting off the grass because I like to get the real feel, and I like to do in the towel drill. I think that's good. That's always helped me over the years as well. So some great points in doing that. But John, well, I really appreciate your insight as well. I think we, probably for the most part, I think we agree pretty much on everything, and I think we'll give a few nuggets. The main thing is I want with Coach's Corner, I want people to really, open their ears and listen to what we're trying to say. We're not just saying it to hear ourselves talk. We're saying it because we want people to understand that if you want to become a better player, there's fundamental things that you need to do to be successful. Even if you're not playing very often, if you go out and work on these things, and a lot of things, as we've talked about over the years, you can do a lot of things at home. If you don't have time to go to the range, you can do these things at home, working on your grip and working on your posture, get in front of a mirror and, do things like that. You can even get a shorter club if you've got a lower ceiling, and you can just work on in front of a mirror and work on your backswing and things like that, and look at the different positions that you're in and making sure that you're doing what your coach is talking about. And that's the big one is get together with a teach professional or a coach and say to them, I really want to get better on my game, but then you got to put it into practice. And if you're not willing to do that, well, then you're not going to get better. So you have to make a choice. It's a decision. Is if you're going to get out there and play, you've got to put the effort in. So, but I want to thank you for coming on tonight. As always, you do a great job. And I'm going to give you, since we got a couple extra minutes, go ahead and take a minute or two. Tell the folks, first off, how they can get in touch with you, where you are right now. And obviously, I know you're going to be traveling again this fall back down south here. But let them know about that, and let them know about your website and anything else. If you want to plug the books, the floor is yours.
Well, thanks again, Ted, for having me on the show. And special congratulations to the Pete Buchanan family. And Pete, sorry you weren't on the show tonight, but we totally understand. And congratulations again on your new grandson. For the listeners out there, if you want to get in touch with me, please go to deckergolf.com. My website is designed, it's self-contained. It's designed to help you to improve your game. It's broken down into categories of full swing, putting, chipping, pitching, bunker, course management, and golf fitness. There's no sign up. I don't ask for emails or anything like that. It's free. So please check out the website. Or if you like to go to YouTube, you can go to my YouTube channel, Jon Decker Golf Instruction. And that's, if you put that in, I've got about 500 videos up there. And I'll be putting out some more here pretty soon. And I'm also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I have 2 books, Golf is My Life, Glorifying God Through the Game, and Fairways to Heaven, One Shot at a Time. I am a Christian author. So those books are on Amazon, Barnes & Noble websites, and also Walmart has the books as well. And my new audiobook for Fairways to Heaven just was released last week. So if you like to do audiobooks, there's now audiobooks. If you go to Amazon or wherever you download your audiobooks, they're available there. for both books. And then I do public speaking. And if you're looking for a public speaker, it could be at your church, your golf course, your civic organization. I'd love to come to your community and do that. And also, I can do golf clinics as well. So I can do a combination of speaking from the faith side and also do instruction as well. And I'm currently teaching in the Columbus, Ohio area. I'm here at the Medallion Club, which is in Westerville. I will be here until November, and then I'm heading back down to Naples, Florida. I'll be teaching at the Dennis Meyer Golf School from December through March, and that's at the Hibiscus Golf Club. So if you're looking for personal instruction with me, again, if you go to deckergolf.com, all of my contact information is on there. Feel free to reach out, and I'd love to work with you.
That sounds good. Well, again, Jon, thank you very much, as always, for joining me here on the Golf Talk Live's Coach's Corner panel. It's always a pleasure to have you join me on the show and always bringing your best. And I just want to let the listeners know, again, that if they want to catch this show, they can go to the iGolf Sports YouTube channel and subscribe there. And all of the shows, there's with the audio versions as well uploaded, which YouTube does allow to do that as well. There's over 900 episodes up there. So 13 years that we've been doing this. We've been schlepping this podcast for a long time. So there's lots of great stuff. And of course, this year we've introduced the video version, which has made it a little bit more fun and enjoyable for us. But you can go to the iGolf Sports YouTube channel and subscribe for that as well. But Jon, again, thank you very much for joining me. It's always a pleasure, and I look forward to having you join me again. And congratulations on the second audio book dropping this week. And again, go to deckergolf.com to get all of his contact information and to check out where you can get a copy of the books. So on that note, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when I come back, I'm going to be joined by my good friend and co-host of the travel segment, Robert Kaufman. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody, and very excited to begin our travel segment tonight. And with me joining is, of course, my good friend, co-host, and travel expert, Robert Kaufman. Let me tell you a little bit about him. Robert is an award-winning photographer, a golf and travel writer, golf media consultant. He's worked with a number of great publications such as Troon Golf and Travel Magazine, PGA Magazine, and, of course, Golf Tips Magazine, along with a host of others. If you want to see more of his great work, you can visit his website, pictureperfect.com. Our special travel guest tonight is Jose Marcellan. He is the head golf professional at the Solmar Golf Links in Cabo San Lucas. He is, again, a golf professional for over 30 years of experience in the game. He holds a degree in business administration and marketing from Coastal Carolina University, where he also completed the PGA of America's Professional Golf Management Program and is a Class A member of the PGA of America's International Section. So, Jose and Robert, welcome to Golf Talk Live in our travel segment, and welcome to the show.
Great. Thank you, Ted. Yeah, good to be back.
Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Ted, for such a great introduction. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Well, I did my best, and I appreciate it. So what I'm going to do, Jose, is I'm going to sort of turn things over. I'm going to sit here and kind of listen to the conversation. I like to let Robert, delve into some of the questions and just talk to you a little bit. And then I'm going to sort of wrap things up as we get a little bit closer to the end of the segment. But Robert, I'm going to turn it over to you and my good friend and co-host and have at it.
All right. Thank you, Ted. Well, good. Great to see you again, Jose. It's been like forever since I was down there in Cabo. It's been 4 months maybe, and a long time. So
yeah,
I miss it.
I think you need to come more often.
Yeah, I do. I do. I need to go a lot of places more often. But and anyway, just kind of get started here. Before we get into the resort property itself, I just want to get your general overall impression of what the attraction is about the destination of Cabo San Lucas, and what brings golfers there?
Okay, I mean, I think first of all, would be interesting to mention that I'm from Spain. In Spain we have amazing golf courses. But I decided to travel to the other side of the world. To come and work here. So I think that tells you that it's an amazing golf destination, high class, like top of the line maintenance golf courses, manicure. You know, and most of them are like great designers. In our case, it's Greg
Right.
Norman. But
Yeah.
all big names. Actually, in Cabo was the first Tiger Woods golf course. So Cabo is and the connections that have flights. You can go anywhere in the States. Yeah, the quality, the beach, the sun. I think it never stops getting any better and growing. Cabo.
Yeah. How long have you been at the property now? You said you came over from Spain.
Yeah, I've been here at Solmar Golf Links for a year and a half, and before that, I lived for another year and a half in Baja California, so I know the region now for 3 years.
Okay. So, what I really liked about your property, and I know I've been to a couple others down there, but yours specifically, Grand Solmar, is in a very secluded spot, right on the ocean, right on the Pacific Ocean, and it's far from the the touristy town of Cabo. So you're far removed from all the hubbub of crowds down there. So talk to me about the let's get into the property now and talk about the location. What's so special about it, and what's going on down there?
All the big developments and properties, are expanding towards Todos Santos. Like that's the Pacific Ocean. So what you can expect in our property are like amazing views. Amazing sunsets. Obviously, the beach. It's huge. It just seems it's just you on the beach. There's so much space.
Yeah. No, it goes on forever. Yeah.
But the projects keep coming up, and so it really feels unique. Actually, I don't know if you know, but the film Troya, you probably remember, it was filmed in that beach, the property where we are.
That was before you arrived?
Yeah, it was a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
But just the like I said, the views, the sunset, and what I like the most is that I don't like the heat, And when I moved to Baja California, I thought it was gonna be like hell, And I can tell you that the weather is much better here right now than in Spain, because we have a little breeze.
Oh, sure, yeah.
We have a little breeze coming from the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
even in the morning, I feel like getting like a little sweater, But
Right.
It's great, and something else, like when February, March, you can see like the whales, the big whales, like coming throughout
Right.
the golf course. You can see when the ocean is calm, you can see the whales when they jump. So the location is spectacular.
Yeah, that's got to be quite a sight. I know one of my other visits down there, I had a chance to go out whale watching, and I was pretty fortunate to see a couple breaches and see a lot of whales go by. So it's a prime area for whale watching for sure. And, with your resort, with the hotel property, all right there on the ocean, tough to miss.
Yeah.
So, well, let's get into the golf course. It's a pretty special, unique type of course, much different than pretty much every other golf course down in Cabo. So talk to us about that. What the designer, I know, is Greg Norman, and what he did down there to make it such a dramatic course.
Yeah, I mean, we are Solmar Golf Links, so we have a little bit of golf links. We have the revetted bunkers. We have like the tall fescue on the sides, like in Scotland. A little bit like with the sand dunes. So I think it really has everything that you expect from a links. I mean, in Cabo, it's not the same thing as Scotland, but it's similar. Just a bit warmer, maybe. Yeah. So it's a great Norman design. We have the ocean breeze, and I think what I really like is that I think Greg Norman, when he designed the course, he really had in mind that little breeze. Because you can tell it was designed considering that. So even though when you get a little breeze, you can play the course and you can shoot low and you can enjoy.
Right.
So I would say those are and the good thing also is that since we are in a hill in this side of the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, we're in a hill, so pretty much all the holes you have views into the ocean.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah. So talk about some of the highlight holes. I mean, I know that everyone's a highlight, but I'm sure some stand out. I mean, what I like actually is it's nice that you guys had fun with the naming of the holes, naming everyone after a whale.
Yeah,
which I found kind of amusing. I didn't even know there were 18 different types of whales.
Yeah, I mean, I've read the names, but I have not seen 18 types of whales in my life. I've seen, I think, one, But, I mean, that's something unique and curious. People like to learn how many different types of whales maybe you can find, But, yeah.
What So what are some of the holes that you enjoyed playing down there?
I think, I usually, when I'm at the starting position, I like to get people excited about the course that they're going to play. I like to tell them that I really like number 2. Number 2 green, it's right at the ocean. It's spectacular. Number 5, it's a par 3 down the hill with sand dunes on both sides. It's a long par 3, but still, I really like it, But I usually tell the clients that I really like even better the backside, So everything starting in 12, 13, 13 I really like because I can birdie, it's a par 5. But my favorite hole is 14, even though it's not the easiest one, because it goes parallel along to the ocean, You just see sand dunes around you, It's something that you can only see here. And people, what I can tell you is, I don't know if I'm supposed to say or not, but people compare our course to some renamed courses on the States. They remember, they say Brandon Dunes. I never played, but
right.
But like I said, 14, 15, 16 is a reachable par 4, The green is very interesting because it's like a half moon, so in the center is a bunker. So when we have the pin location on the left, it's difficult. When we have on the right, it's difficult. If you want to reach the green, the driver needs to be tight, So, my favorite, I would say, is 14, definitely. But it's not just one hole. I think the entire track... the people, what I can say is that the people, when finish play, they say, man, this place is just spectacular, amazing. I'm coming back. See, so that's very powerful for us to work every day and have that feedback every day. It's great.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure a lot of folks that show up there, especially for the first time, they're pretty surprised at the landscape there, and maybe they've never played links golf before, and they get a pretty good welcome to what type of golf that is, and how tough it could be. Depending upon the winds that are blowing down there.
Especially even I'm surprised because a lot of times, like you come into the lobby and you go through the hall, and you just see spectacular views right from the start. So people are right when they arrive, they just start taking pictures, So that's very nice.
Right. And you've got some nice comfort stations out there to kind of ease the pain a little bit.
Yeah, good golfer requires good food and good drinks, So we got at this time we got the food stations offer you like a little selection of food. We have tamales, which are traditional from Mexico. So
those are great.
Tasty. I always tell people to put a lot of sauce, because life requires sauce. And margaritas are amazing, but I cannot have them while I work.
Right.
And then there goes the putting stroke, right? After that hot sauce.
Exactly. Yeah. So we got 4 stops. You stop in hole number 6, number 8, 13, and 17. And just people have an amazing time.
Yeah, and it's open to anyone, or does one have to stay at the resort there?
No, at this time it's open to public. I mean, people talk about if in the future it's going to be private, but that's like talking what's going to happen to me when I'm 70 or 60 or 50. I don't know. At this time it's open to public, so people have to come now before it's. But now we're open to public, and obviously it's focused for the people that stay at the resort. But we're open. We welcome everybody.
Right, that's great. Yeah, because I know a lot of those courses in Cabo are, a little bit standoffish to public play and only allow resort guests and members. So that's a nice thing to have there. How do you compare? I know some of the courses down there are very pricey. How do you guys compare on the cost?
I mean, I think we are if you want to play in Cabo, you're probably going to spend it depends on the time of the year you come.
Sure.
In the summertime, you can play for $300, and in the winter time, you can play for $400, So pretty much all the courses manage the same kind of rates. The good thing is that you got food and drinks included, So you're talking about 8 drinks. Nobody drinks 8 drinks,
No.
No.
Not stands up afterwards.
But like I said, if you come with your friends, a week trip, you play 3 days of golf, it's what it is. You're playing in one of the most relevant golf destinations in the world.
For sure.
So actually, I have to say that we never have we have in season we have 160 players. Maybe average we have 120, right?
Okay.
And right now, for example, this week we are having like 60, 70, well, maybe 100, and for that many players, we never have people that say, oh, it's pricey or it's expensive. I think people are happy with what they get, with the value proposition, I guess.
No, it's a really good value, for that destination. Like I said, and a lot of the courses there charge quite a bit of money to play.
Yeah.
So what you get there and the type of golf course it is, and of course the views. Really can't beat it down there. Yeah. Talk about the let people know about the resort there. Which is right on the ocean there, right next to the golf course.
Yeah.
The suites are available.
Yeah, the resort.
It's very family friendly.
Yeah, I really like because you can tell right at the entrance that it's luxurious. You feel like, wow, this is a good vacation. And also I like because we have like studios. We have 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom. Even we have a penthouse with swimming pool. So for like good big groups of friends, families, it's an amazing because it's like if you were like in a big house. You know, you don't feel like you are in a hotel. You feel like you are in a spacious place. You know,
Right.
so I was really, when I started working in Solmar, I was really impressed by the hotel, the amenities, the quality. You know, so and sometimes, you know, we have the challenge because people come out to play, they don't know that there is a hotel, and once if they come down and they really see what's there, they are impressed. You know,
Oh
so
yeah.
it's
Well, the amenities are great, and it's so spread out. I mean, you could have a full house there, and you don't feel closed in. You don't see a lot of people at any one time.
yeah. Actually, that's what people say, that they don't feel that the hotel is packed, even though it could be like in a high occupancy. You know, so that's good because you really feel that you are resting during your vacation. You know, and then we have
Right.
like a natural lagoon, like I don't know, it's like 2-3 feet. You know, so you can go with a canoa, a kayak, or you can swim. You know, there for the kids also it's very nice. They have like I don't know how you call it, how you say in English, like when you go down the slide. No,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So it's
yeah. The pool side.
even for the kids, it's very fun. We all also have a kids club, so it's great.
No, there's lots of activities going on there, so you know you can do nothing or you can really engage in a lot of the games and pool and whatever that you want down there. And of course, for the adults, you got the spa treatments, which it was one of the better locations that I've ever had for a spa. I'll tell you, lay down and looking right at the ocean. I mean, if that doesn't put you to sleep, I don't know what.
Yeah, that's good. Let me jump in, Robert, if I can, real quick. I want to
Yeah,
ask as
absolutely.
we get close to our time. Jose, I want a couple of things. How many of the holes, you mentioned number 14 runs parallel to the Pacific Ocean. How many holes, whether it be green or tee, with the green head into the ocean, like head towards the ocean? In other words, that's their backdrop, and also the tee, or they pretty much run parallel, sort of back and forth alongside the ocean, or is there a mixture of both?
Yeah, I mean, number 2 green is in the ocean. Number 3 is a
Okay.
par 3 that goes along the ocean parallel. See, the tee box in 4 is by the ocean, you know. And then on the backside, you got 14 goes along the ocean, and 15 tees off by the ocean. But you see the ocean from pretty much all the holes.
Pretty much
All
everywhere.
the holes.
So you've got quite a few holes right down along the ocean, and then you've obviously got views. So I'm assuming then that without seeing it, that there's some elevation as well along the course, allowing you to see some pretty panoramic views, not just alongside the ocean, but from some of the other holes. You obviously have some elevation a little bit that gives you some really good views. Would that be accurate?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, who typically, some of the clients that you're getting there, is it typically more families that are coming? Obviously, I'm sure you're getting some buddy trips. You're getting some guide trips that are coming down there that want to maybe play something a little bit different than maybe they hear in the United States. But are you getting a lot of families as well that are coming to the resort? And obviously some playing golf and some doing some of the other activities?
I mean, if I have to say a number, I would say probably like maybe 30%, 20% are families. And it's more like groups of friends traveling together,
right.
You know. But I mean, as you know, in the summertime, more families travel together. In the winter time,
Sure.
It's more like groups of friends. You know, a lot of bachelor parties. You know, weddings. You know, we had sometimes like 2 groups. You know, playing the same day that they're getting married on Saturday, and they're playing on Friday.
Right.
So a lot of people do
Right.
that. You know, they come here for the wedding, and they have like a golf outing, you know.
Right.
Wow. And I'm assuming then too that you're getting a lot of, in addition to families and groups like that, now that more women are getting out and playing golf, you're seeing a lot of couples, like just couples coming as well, just for a great vacation, and maybe they're playing some golf as well.
Yeah, no,
you're seeing
I mean,
rising too?
definitely couples, I would say, is like the big percentage. You know, a lot of couples. You know, like I said, it's difficult for me to tell how much of each, but I would say couples, groups of friends, families.
So it's a good diversity of different groups that are coming. That's important for people to know because, you know, again, typically when people think of golf, you know, what they see in advertisement, it's kind of, you know, the groups of guys are going all the time. And it's nice to know, you know, as I said, a lot of women now have taken up the game because of, you know, seeing the LPGA Tour, how it's grown over the years and has become a dominant force in golf. You're seeing more women, and obviously they want to play with their husbands and partners and things like that. So it's good to see that you're getting a good diversity. I'm going to ask this last question, and Robert, if you have anything else as we get ready to wrap up, but what's the best part of your job? What do you love the most about your job, Jose?
I like that people are always happy, you know. So dealing with happy people that just come to enjoy my job is just to keep them happy. You know, which is it's relatively easy. You know, just don't give them any trouble and solve their problems. You know, I think one of my qualities that I like to say is that I'm a problem solver. You know, I just always try to go a bit ahead. You know, try to exceed the people's expectations. You know, with service, and it's not just me. I think that the whole team has that mentality, and people always congratulate the team because I think we offer a great service.
Yeah, that was one of the prime things that stood out when I visited there is that it wasn't just you, Jose, but everywhere I went, everyone that I came in contact with throughout the property was on their A game, you know, for service and just taking care of the guests. So it's an all around team effort. So it was very obvious down there.
Thank you, Robert.
Fantastic. And Jose, is there a website if people want to get more information that they can go to, you know, obviously discover for themselves the beautiful features of the resort and the hotel, and that if they want to book, where can they go? Is there a website they can go to?
Yeah, it's for golf, it's solmargolf.com.
Solmargolf.com, and it's SOLMAR golf.com, correct?
Solmargolf.com. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Robert, any final thoughts, or do you have anything you want to ask before we wrap up?
One more thing. You've got some nice stay and play packages that are good. And what's the ideal time of year to come down there? I know there's a high and a low season.
I mean, if I had to come, I mean, October can be hotter, you know, but October is pre-season. See, so if you come like the last days of October, you know, or even if you come in June, I mean, it depends, you know, if people want to save some money, they come in low season. It depends on you, but the whole year, I would maybe not travel in August, September. You know, I would try to maybe avoid those, you know, but because those maybe are hotter. But right now we are almost in August and it's not hot. You know, like I said, the little breeze. So even now it's fine.
Yeah. So it's a pretty good year-round destination.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Florida, Jose, so I know what hot is all about. So I don't mind the heat. So I would come down any time there just to see the whales jumping and play some good golf. So,
had a family from Tampa today.
Oh yeah, so that's a cool breeze compared to what they're experiencing down in Tampa right now. But Jose, I want to thank you very much for coming on and talking a little bit about Solmar and Robert always for doing a great job. But
thank you.
Again, excuse me, if you want to go to solmargolf.com, you can find out more about the golf course and check out some of the other amenities that are there as well. But we're going to take another quick commercial break. And when I come back, I'm going to be joined by my featured guest of the evening, Fraser Marriott from Lightspeed Golf.
Hi, I'm Karen Jansen, LPGA Master Teaching Professional and National Academy of Sports Medicine Certified Personal Trainer, and I'm very excited to share with you my Cardio Golf online subscription. Professional golfers know the importance of athletic development for golf. As a recreational golfer, you might not have the time to train like an elite athlete, but by simply adding a few golf-specific exercises and swing drills into your daily routine, you can dramatically improve your game, and you can do it at home with cardio golf. I have various pieces of equipment to help you train indoors, away from the golf course, like the Cardio Golf Shorty Club. This club is short so that you can swing inside. You're not going to hit the ceilings or the walls. The Cardio Golf Slope. This is great to simulate an uphill and a downhill lie. You know, the ones that you get on the golf course, but there's nowhere ever to practice. We also use this as a fitness step. I also have various pieces of equipment from Golf Gym, like the Powerball and the Power Bands, to help you improve your strength and flexibility. Join me every week as I take you through workouts that are going to help you shape your swing and trim your score. Start a free trial today. Go to cardiogolf.com.
Improve your putting with the Alignment Ball Marker, a revolutionary new in-game putting alignment tool and ball marker. Its patented design allows you to read your putt and adjust your alignment at the same time by using your putter, which improves your accuracy and makes the process of putting faster. 100% legal according to the USGA, by their definition, permitted under the rules of golf. Winner of Best New Product at the PGA Show and only $9.99 on Amazon. And it's also completely customizable for any golf event or as a promotional giveaway. Order at alignmentballmark.com.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Golf Talk Live. Again, I'm your host, Ted Odorico. We've got a great, as I said, we've been having a great show tonight, and I'm really excited about having tonight's featured guest for a couple of reasons. Always interested to meet new people, and this is going to be our first time meeting officially. But also, he's a fellow Canuck, a Canadian, as it were. So we'll have a few Canadian things that we'll insert into the conversation, I'm sure, along the way. But let me tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll get into tonight's discussion. His name is Fraser Marriott. He is the head of golf for Lightspeed Commerce or Golf. He oversees all aspects of golf management, software, and payment processing, tailored for courses, country clubs, resorts, and communities. Marriott started in the company's retail division before shifting to Lightspeed Golf as director of sales and subsequently director of customer management, playing an integral role significantly in scaling the business, including partnerships with top multi-course operators coast to coast. So on that note, let me welcome my very good special guest, featured guest tonight, Fraser Marriott. Fraser, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Ted. Excited to be here.
All right, appreciate it. So again, as I mentioned, a fellow Canuck, so you are living in Quebec, right? In Montreal specifically, right?
So I'm actually just outside Montreal. I'm a little closer. I'm kind of between Ottawa and Montreal, at a little town called Chelsea. But I am in Montreal quite frequently. That's where our headquarters is.
Okay, very good. Lots of good food. I've been to Montreal many times over the years. I haven't been there for a while, but lots of good food there. So we'll maybe sneak a little bit of the cuisine in there as we head in. But in the conversation. But yeah. But so I think first off, I think what we'll do. Obviously, we'll learn a little bit more. I know there's more things that we can talk about here about you personally, but I want you to give us a sort of an overview of who Lightspeed is. So there's really a couple of components to it. So give us a little bit of the backstory, if you will, to Lightspeed.
Yeah, so Lightspeed was founded in 2005 by Dax Da Silva, our current CEO still to this day. So it was a Mac-based point-of-sale software that was essentially built for small to medium-sized businesses. So we basically wanted to offer enterprise-level technology for kind of the small to medium-sized business. So, and it really took off. It was really focused on, more Canadian customers to begin with. But as it grew, we moved into North America and more global. Originally focused on the retail side. And then as the company grew in 2014, we made the pivot and actually, acquired a hospitality company and moved into the hospitality space. Continued to ramp up. There were a few other acquisitions on the retail side and on the restaurant side, such as Gastrofix, Vend, Shopkeep, things like that. And with us actually going IPO in 2019. And that was actually the same year that they acquired Chronogolf, which was founded in Montreal, Quebec by JD Saint-Martin, our president, Guillaume Jacquet, our old CTO, and Fred Jacquet, who is, the main brains behind the operation. And he was actually a pro originally and kind of saw the hole in the market. and grew it from there, which was super exciting. And so I think what was neat about it and neat about the kind of acquisition of golf is Chronogolf at the time was one of Lightspeed's best resellers. So they'd resell Lightspeed, the point of sale software for them. And, I think there was such alignment between the leadership, between the people, between the kind of overarching idea of supporting local businesses, that it was a perfect fit. So kind of coming over in that era, and that's around the same time I joined the company, actually. And then since then, we've acquired an e-commerce company, a B2B wholesale management software called New Order. And now the whole focus is really in North America is to focus on the retail side in golf and supporting local businesses, empowering our communities, and bringing people together through commerce. And then we really focus hospitality in Europe. But we do actually empower over 100 countries with our software right now.
That's fantastic. So, what's interesting is there's so many components. When most people think about golf, of course, they're thinking about the tours or they're thinking about golf instruction and things like that. But there's really so many other business components, and you obviously are a leader in that at Lightspeed. And it's interesting that it's not just about the game itself, but it's all of the support mechanisms that go into working with different clients and not just the general public. So give us again, I want to just drill down a little bit more. Give us specifics of what exactly does Lightspeed Golf do, and does it typically serve just the public, private, or resort courses, or all of the above?
Yeah, great question. So what we're a one-stop solution. So we provide, like an all-encompassing offering for golf courses. So everything from, booking tee times online all the way through to your restaurant, snack bar, on course. Where we go very deep on the restaurant side, retail side, golf side. So we empower the entire operation, not only in the back end, but in the front end as well for the customer facing for the golfer. And then as well, we do also have payment processing. So we are our own payment processor, which is very cool. Yeah. And then who do we service? So we actually have our ideal customer profile is essentially every golf course you can imagine right now, because we actually just created a partnership with Whoosh. So now we're able to enter the private side. But previously our main focus has been on the public, semi-private resort and multi-course operator. And the example of multi-course operator would be Kemper, Landscapes, right. Advanced Golf, things like that. So just for the listeners who don't know what multi-course operator is, it's basically a conglomerate of golf courses, either through management or through ownership.
Yeah. And there's so many now, and the golf courses are, if people really understood just how many golf courses there are around the world, it would just blow their mind. I guess what I want to really dive into a little bit is from the golf course operators, because these are the guys and gals that really, have a pretty stressful job, because they've got to make sure everything's running smoothly and everything's, working on point, and they need to be able to get things working and functioning correctly. So how are you guys able to make their life a little bit easier? Because I'm sure they appreciate that.
Yeah, I think what's very important is that we're an all-in-one, we're a one-stop shop. And I think, what I tell everyone, what is our biggest differentiator? Our biggest differentiator is our people, and kind of our mission in supporting our customers. We as a team work with the unilateral net retention metric. So our focus is really on retaining and helping grow and optimize customers. So I really think it's our support that sets people apart. I think a lot of softwares can be interchangeable, but where a lot of softwares fall short is really on the customer service side. And that's where I really think we excel. I think in tandem with that, we do use a best of breed approach, where essentially if our software doesn't do it, we find the right partner who can help fill that hole, which I think is incredibly important. Because we're listening to the customer, we're listening to their needs, and we're finding the right providers to help provide the best software.
And I would imagine that as an operator, if you're using the software reporting is a big thing as well. We want to be able to get those access to those numbers quickly, reports, things like that, see how the operation overall is doing, not just in tee times, but obviously, as you mentioned, restaurants and things like that. They want to be able to say, okay, these are the numbers, these are the high points, these are the low points, given the season. They know when their strengths. They need to have that information. So how easy is it for them to get access to that information? And is there a lot of challenges in getting that initially set up?
No, not at all. It comes right out of the box. So what we do have is, it was a great point. You spoke about, reordering of food, work in the hospitality sector. So we have ingredient management directly built into the restaurant side of things. On the retail side as well, we have reorder points. It's really easy to track inventory. You can show your dusty inventory, what's working well, what's not. You can plan what needs to go on sale, what isn't going to go on sale. It's very simplistic. So right out of the box, you have well over 100 reports, both on the golf side, retail, and restaurant, that are really simple to use. They're all, basically click and play. We actually are releasing a whole new reporting suite called Business Intelligence that will be coming out in early September, which will kind of redefine our whole reporting tool right now. In addition to that, we do have an advanced reporting partner called Metolius, run by Ross Liggett. You may know him, Ted. He's a big name within the industry. And so he's one of our great partners who works with us as well, especially on our marketing side, digital marketing side. So right. I think all in all, the whole point of this is we empower you guys and these operators to essentially be able to make faster, quicker, more nimble decisions, which I think is incredibly important in this day and age. You need to have access to those numbers, to those reports instantaneously.
Do some of the reports include in that, or can be easily integrated with other systems to provide like a profit and loss statement so that they can see, okay, this is our revenues coming in, here's our expenses going out, here's an overall P&L that they can. The reason why I asked that is because one of the things that a lot of companies are doing now is being able to, before you had to run a lot of stuff, the accountant had to, go through all this. And now there's so many programs out there where they can integrate together so you can actually import it or export it right into your accounting software. Absolutely. So it's very easy. Is that something that's available to your clients as well?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we integrate with, I would say, 99.9% of accounting softwares. We have a completely open API, which is very rare in this industry. Right. And we encourage our customers to come forth. If there's any preferred accounting software, we work with our amazing kind of head of partnerships and strategy, sure, Matt Welliver, and he'll make all that magic happen for you. But we integrate with basically any accounting software that you need. And it's like you said, it really makes life easy. And we all know the brains of the golf course really is the accountant.
Oh yeah. He or she tells you whether or not you're going to have a business next week. And what you can and cannot spend. And a lot of people listening might, look at that and say, well, okay, what does that really matter? But the truth of the fact is, from an operator with so much, number one, competition out there, and obviously with other environmental impacts such as, a slow economy, that type of thing, you need to have instant access to information. Years ago, people would just look at the tee sheet and say, okay, well, we've got, 70 people coming in today instead of 100. So we know that our revenue is going to be a little bit down. But now there's so many other components. Golf courses are not just looking at tee times. They've got other options available. Maybe it's restaurants, food and that sort of thing. Or there may be other activities that they're spas or what, like, especially for the resort. So there's a lot of other revenue streams that can come in so that they can factor in. And when they see one's not working as effectively, what can we do to ramp this up, or how can we, work them together, sort of thing. So I think it's very, very important from an operator standpoint. I'm going to give you an opportunity to brag a little bit about Lightspeed and that. I know that St. Andrews in Scotland is somebody that Lightspeed works with. What are some of the other famous courses that you guys are working with on a big scale like that?
Yeah, so I think it's twofold. I think we work with some amazing MCOs. We work with Kemper Landscape Advanced Golf, Founders, Blue Star Golf. We have a tremendous kind of Rolodex of MCOs that we work with. I think if you're looking at bragging as kind of individual properties. Right now, we also operate in Kapalua, Lac La Belle out in Wisconsin, French Lick, which is top
really?
100 course, which is really, really cool. So we're kind of scattered all over the map. I think in Canada, we work with Tobiano, which is an incredible golf course out west, and a few others, and we have some great names coming in up and some great resorts that have recently signed with us. I'm actually heading over to Scotland to go visit with St. Andrews and kind of talk about what our future holds and how we're looking to expand in that part of the world too.
Yeah, I was actually, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just in French Lick actually a weekend ago.
Okay.
For a short trip, and it was great golf courses there. Just a interesting property, and up in of course Indiana, in the
home
town
of Larry Bird, right?
I gotta throw this out there. Since you brought this up, what I was really, and I gotta say that now maybe we missed it, but a lot of the restaurants, of course, had his jersey inside.
Yeah.
But I was surprised. I was like, no statue, no signage anywhere that I could find. So for those of you from French Lick, if you're licking, you guys need to get a sign or something up there, or a little statue, in the town square, and get that up at Larry Bird. He needs to get his props. So just throwing that out there,
Larry Legend.
Yeah, exactly. Get him up there. But so again, give us sort of an example since switching to Lightspeed Golf system in terms of the management software and that. Give us an example of the performance lift, if you will, of a golf course. So what is it doing? How is it helping sort of expand their business? What can they expect using your system?
So typically, when using the systems, I think if you start in payment processing, you save around 15% per year on payment processing rates. I think that's something really important to note. I think that there needs to be a further audit in this industry on what companies are charging for payment processing. I definitely think that's a tough one often, and it's not very transparent. We're extremely transparent using a flat rate model. We save around 15%. I think if you're looking at time savings for your staff, which is really important, is you're looking at saving around 20 hours per week just for the simplicity of the software processing. We spoke earlier about reports. I think that's another key component, because you're able to extrapolate that information, digest it quickly, and make those quick decisions. So I'd say on average, it's about 20 hours a week that you're saving for your staff, and then around 15% on payment processing, which is huge for the bottom line, especially, with semi-private publics, those mom and pop courses that, every dollar matters. And those are what our companies, what point of sale companies, what T-sheet companies should be looking to support. They are the foundation of what golf is built on, are these mom and pop shops. Mm-hmm. So we need to ensure that we're supporting them and listening to their needs. And I think Lightspeed does a good job of that by ensuring that we are priced below the competition, and as well as we're saving the money on payment processing. And
I would imagine that all of your components to your system can be easily branded to whatever course or whatever brand they want. So if, again, in St. Andrews, if they want to brand their POS, they can do that to whatever component they have. I'm assuming that's integrated into your system, correct?
So that would be more on the customer facing side. So,
right.
About printing out receipts, things like that.
Right.
We are able to do that, through some of our partners, not innately in the system, but through partners, we're able to do that.
Okay. That's great. Well, that's good to know too, because people want to have, brand recognition with their properties. People come and visit, and even if it's something as simple as a receipt, if it's properly branded, that sends off some bells and whistles for people, and they say, "Oh, okay, yeah, I was at St. Andrews. I remember this receipt," and it's a good time. So I want to ask you something and normally I would ask this question right from the get go, but I thought I'd save this for a little bit. So why golf? What is it about golf that you enjoy? When did you first get integrated to golf? In other words, when did you first sort of get introduced to the game? And do you get a chance to play that much now because you're sort of entrenched into your job? But just give us a little history of your golfing experience from where you began and to the point you are now.
Yeah, I originally was introduced to golf when I was around 15 years old by my godfather. That first summer I played a par 3 course, and I chipped in for birdie my first round. So I was completely hooked. It was probably like 2 of the worst shots ever, but it went in the hole.
Right.
And so I was completely hooked from that point. And so that summer I actually got a job at a local golf course, Royal Ottawa Golf Club, under head pro Paul Carruthers, who's still a great friend of mine. And so I actually worked there from about 15 to, I'd say, about 21, 22 every summer. And my goal actually was to become a CPGA golf professional. So I actually did the PGM program, close to actually, Ted, where you grew up, down in Niagara-on-the-Lake.
Okay, I know that well.
So I actually did the 3-year program there, and graduated and anticipated really going into that field. At that time, I didn't feel like I was ready to kind of jump into a full-time career. So I actually went back to school and kind of took a slight deviation working in a small startup, and then moved to Lightspeed, and didn't know if I'd get back to golf, but I was still playing a lot. I have a huge passion for the game, for the history of it, for, kind of the day-to-day and the tradition. And then, when they acquired Chrono Golf, my ears perked up, my eyes were wide. I was like, oh man, how do I join? And luckily JD, our president, actually was like, hey, would you like to join the team? And kind of the rest has been history. I think, am I playing a lot of golf? I think my wife will say that I'm playing way too much golf, but I think, me personally, I don't think I'm playing enough. But I do get to go out to some amazing courses, due to a lot of our partners and customers. Great Life, John and Jason Harshberger and Bryce have taken me out to some great spots. I've been able to play Bay Hill, Pebble Beach. And so I feel very fortunate, because I don't think I would ever have been able to play a lot of these courses in my life without that. So I would say I probably play once a week, if I'm lucky, and then try and get some practicing in whenever I can. I live about 15 minutes from the golf course I'm a member at, so it's fingers crossed that'll only increase.
Right. Well, and that's one of the things. And the reason I ask that is because people don't really, I think, fully appreciate. When a lot of people look at golf, of course, their main introduction to golf, if they haven't been introduced earlier on as you were, is what they see on television. So they see it at the pro level and they think, oh, there's no way I can play like that. And they don't understand that really it's a game for everybody. Doesn't matter what level you are, how good or bad you are. I've seen people that, couldn't break 100 if their life depended on them, but they have an incredible amount of fun. There's there's a camaraderie, and originally it was more of a buddies type thing. It was a predominantly a male dominated sport, but now, because of many of the pioneers in the LPGA, it's now become a big dominant force in women's golf as well. And now you're seeing even more couples play and things like that. Maybe you'll convince your wife one day to come out and join you on the links. We'll see. I'm not gonna push anything. I don't want to create any bad blood. So if she's listening, I don't want to force the issue. But my sister was like that for years. I don't get it. I don't understand. And I finally said, look, go out and try it. And the next thing you know, she's walking through with a full set of clubs and several outfits and shoes and the whole bit. And I said, what's all this? She says, well, it's actually what you said it was. It was a good game. So
yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
So it's never too late. But I want people to get out there and play, and it's great, for you doing what you do, because you see a lot of other aspects of the game. You see it from a business side, not just from me as an instructor or as a player. You get to see sort of behind the scenes of what really goes on in a golf operation and see how it's put together. And it's a lot more than just hitting a white ball around the golf course. There's a lot of components that go in. Then there's a lot of support people that work to make the, course successful. And, systems like Lightspeed that are able to now, with technology, help these golf operators, as we touched on earlier, to be able to be even more successful at a quicker pace. And it gives them instant, information. Whereas, before they might have had to, it could be several months before they really had all the numbers put together. Now they can just, with the click of a button or two, they've got all that information coming in real time. So that's what's the number one thing that you enjoy most about your job, and what would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
The part that I enjoy the most is really the people I've met along the way. I think I've mentioned a few, like, Landscapes, Kemper, Great Life, Founders. A lot of these MCOs, they've really helped sculpt, me, who I am today. I would say I've learned a lot from some of the great leaders like, John Brown, Scott Wellman, Tom Everett, Jeff Osborne. There are a lot of people that have been really impactful in my life and in my career. And I've made a lot of great friends. Pat Kelly and I, Fred Advanced Golf, he and I have been texting about barbecues the other day because of buying a new barbecue. Like it's really the people, I think, from a customer standpoint, but I think also from an employee standpoint. I've worked with a lot of people at Lightspeed Golf now. I think we have an incredible retention plan for employees. And I've worked with a lot of people for 5-6 years now, 7 years, which I think is a rarity in this day and age. As you know, a lot of millennials and Gen Zs bounce around jobs every 6 months, 12 months.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. And so it's definitely been a huge benefit to my, my personal life and my professional life is just the people that I've met. And we've been able to build something pretty neat. From that standpoint, what's my biggest challenge? I think just staying ahead of kind of what the most recent trends are. Like golf is ever changing. You see, recreational golf is becoming such a prominent part of this game, and just ensuring that we're supporting everyone the best we can, and we're developing the right parts of the business to help support those customers. And I think that, the most challenging part is we have to ensure that we're listening to every single customer and their needs. We can't get stuck, with tunnel vision here, focusing on one subset of what is an incredible industry. So I think the most challenging part is ensuring that we're still hearing the voice of the customer and staying ahead of what is required for Lightspeed to remain, one of the top players in this industry.
Yeah, you hit a great topic because from a teach professional side, this was one of my concerns for a long time. Is we saw sort of a stagnation, and in where golf instructors were sort of putting everybody in one box. We're going to teach the game this way. This is how it's going to be taught. And they didn't really factor in that there were so many, different types of swings, different way people can approach the game, and even different reasons for why people want to play the game. You have your own reason. I have a different reason, and so has another reason. And they're not always, the same. There might be certain similarities, but they're all different. I think, believe it or not, and as tragic as it was, I think COVID was a real eye opener for the industry. The industry obviously benefited. There's no doubt about it because of the type of industry that you are. It's an outdoor game, so people were able to get out and take advantage, and it brought a lot of new people to the game that had never been exposed to it before. It brought back some people that had kind of hung up the clubs for a while out of frustration or whatever the reason, maybe age, and they said, you know what, I'm tired of watching movies on Netflix. I got to get out of the house. I can't stand it, and wife's driving me crazy, husband's driving me, whatever. And so they came out, and then there was a whole new generation. And I interviewed a CEO. I'm not going to give his name at this point, but one of the top CEOs in the business. And he said, this is a chance for a real reset for the golf business, for them to take a look at it and say, okay, let's not go down the same rabbit hole we have for 20, 30 years. Here's a chance to look at the industry from a different, and you had the onset of companies like Top Golf and others that have come up since then, that have come up and introduced people to a game. And yeah, it may not be quote unquote traditional golf the way, maybe you or I or others may look at it. But at the same time, it's introducing people to a game like never before, and it's giving them an opportunity. And it's also, it's removing a little bit of the stuffiness. I mean, I'll be honest. I mean, I've been around golf. I mean, I'm older than you are. So I've been around golf for a long time, since I was 7 years old. And there's always been a little bit of a stuffiness. And I think that it's breaking a lot of that glass ceiling, if you will. And it's opening not just to a younger generation, but to a different generation too, that, maybe doesn't want to, I mean, for a while there, they were letting people come out in the golf courses, some of them with flip-flops. I mean, heck with the golf shoes. They just wanted to get the numbers out.
Yeah.
And golf courses are changing too. I think you're seeing more and more, and I'm sure you're seeing it through your businesses that your integration with different courses. They're bringing back, short courses and things like that, because sometimes people don't have time to play, 18 holes or what have you. So, they're integrating a small 9, and it's almost like what they have at Augusta National with that chip and putt, where it's a very short course. It's meant to be fun. It's meant to get out there and then the next, people say, oh, I'm going to try, Pinehurst number 2, or I'm going to try this one over here, or I'm going to try that over there. So it's a way of integrating to the game. Are you seeing that through your lens as well, or am I just out in left field?
No, I definitely think you nailed it. I really think it's removed the barrier to entry. I think that it felt like golf was, you couldn't come in, you couldn't join. It was a tight-knit community, which it still is.
Sure.
In many circles. But I think removing that barrier to entry, I think Topgolf and, TrackMan, all these different simulator companies that have come in and really redefined point entry for golfers has been incredible. And you can see the impact on occupancy rates. You can see that, year over year, we're seeing that growth. I think we need to ensure that we don't lose some of that, kind of history and some of that, what makes golf special, that some of that tradition. But I definitely think the barrier to entry, it's really allowed, more people to come and enjoy this beautiful game. And I think it's incredibly important. And I think it's helped virtually every golf course.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think too, from an industry standard, I think one of the things that I'm excited about seeing, being able to play around and seeing different, age demographics and that is they're just having fun. I mean, you see now with these companies coming out, whether it's, not just the big guys, but even some of the new companies that are coming in. I mean, now you've seen the onset of the Bluetooth speaker. The guys are, using the magnet and pumping it on their thing, and they're listening to some tunes out there, and they're, most of them are being respectful. Some of them are not, but most of them are being pretty respectful. But it's opened a whole different dynamic of the game, and it's made it fun. And This was, something I'd heard the industry for a long, long time. So, you got to have fun when you're out there. Well, when you're out there and your game sucks and you're just not playing very well. I mean, I see the stats that the National Golf Foundation puts out every single year. And basically it's a repeat. They might as well just print it and just put it out every season of the same thing and say same as before. Is you're not seeing the handicaps coming down. And that's really a twofold is you have to make it fun for people. You have to make it exciting for people to want to go out there. So this is what a lot of people have been juggling over the last several years. And so when you think of that, what do you see as some of the future trends, not just for Lightspeed? Like, where do you see your business moving in the future? And where would you like to see golf move as it continues on its journey of development and growth?
Yeah, I think it's finding that happy medium. I mean, if you look at our Lightspeed State of the Industry report, there's a huge percentage of millennials and Gen Z that really want to have that customizable, personalized experience, and are kind of yearning for that digital experience, which is the top tracers, things like that. So I definitely think there's a way to incorporate the two. I think there's some, courses that have done it really well, having those top tracer ranges, and having TrackMan ranges. If you go to Cabot or a lot of these incredible kind of destinations, they're starting to encompass more of that fun, like you said, those games, those short courses. So I think you kind of nailed it. I think as long as golf is continuing to go in kind of that fun, collaborative community direction, I think everyone in the industry will benefit from that. So for me, I think we're headed in the right direction. I think we just have to be very conscious to not lose, the tradition of the game, and ensuring that there is a certain level of respect to what is an amazing game. So, the speakers and everything is a great addition to what we're doing. And then I think it's just continuing to grow off of that and make sure we're doing it the right way and showing healthy growth. Golf is growing like this, but if the industry takes their eyes off of the end goal of that healthy, sustained growth, we can easily have a huge peak and a huge valley. And we want to see that healthy, sustained growth, which I think is collaborating more with each other. And if you're looking at it from a Lightspeed perspective, I want to see all of the industry better collaborate with one another to provide the right services, to provide the perfect solution, to help save the courses money and allow them to kind of flourish and invest, put money back in their pockets so they can invest in these new technologies to help attract more golfers to them.
Yeah, one thing I've said that's some great points, Fraser. What I want to see, I think the industry as a whole do is I think, the more oars in the water, rowing in the same direction. getting the industry moving in the same direction, but it has to be open-minded. It can't be say, well, let's just do this and everybody goes in the right and may not necessarily be the best. So you have to be careful of that too. And it's good to have some new folks coming in. I think one of the biggest criticisms I had for golf, and I'm going to move from the instructional side a little bit, is there was a mentality of, well, I'll roll up the drive, I'll pull in the driveway of the golf course, open the doors, and people will come. Well, you can't do that anymore and survive. You've got to be out. There has to be outreaches to your community. You have to find things of drawing people in. And it's not just cheap tee times. And I mean, they've tried that route 1,000 times and it works to a point, but then you run a risk of pricing yourself out of the market. So you have to find other ways. Years ago, you had big facilities where people would have their wedding or their reception or something at a golf course. And that was great. But now what they're doing is, as I mentioned with the short courses and things like that, they're finding other ways of drawing people in, having other activities, non-golf related, but just getting people there so that you can bring your family there now. And, maybe they've got horseback riding. Maybe they've got other things that they're doing. So they're making it so that it's not just all about golf. I mean, golf is still a central focus, but a lot of these resorts, as I'm sure you see, you go all over, and I mean, they're on a lake, and there's boating, and there's, this, that, kayaking, and whatever, hiking, horseback, right? Like as I said, all different types of things. So I think you have to have a diversity. But also, too, I think one of the big issues that the younger generation is driving is they value their time much more than we. I mean, we didn't care. We went out in the golf course, 4.5 hours when you could still play for that short. Now it's 5 hours, but or more. But they don't want to do that anymore. They don't want to do that. They want to go out and say, I don't have 5 hours of my day that I want to do that because I have so many other, cool things I want to do. So the industry has had to make adjustments there. How can we get them to the golf course? How can we get them engaged? So they're offering things instead of just the traditional 9 or 18 holes, they might just do 6 holes. Say, hey, I want to play 6 holes or some other, abbreviated form of it. And they've had to adapt to that. Is that something that you're noticing a lot too? And as you look through some of your clients, they're having to make those adjustments?
Yeah, I mean, you've looked at a lot of new builds, like they're making short courses that are 12 holes, 6 holes, all these numbers you'd kind of never seen before. And there's huge popularity for it. If you look at a lot of the new builds in North America, that's a lot of them either are an 18 and a short course, or they're just building a 12-hole course. They're just building a 9-hole course. It's a really interesting point. And I think it will be fun to watch how that continues to progress. But I think 12 holes is becoming incredibly popular. If you look at local course here that I play at, they offer a 6-hole, 9-hole, and 12-hole rate, which, I would never have thought that was a thing even 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So it's definitely interesting. Once again, it's removing that barrier to entry. So I think getting more people to play the game is incredibly important.
Well, and you're seeing, a lot of innovators a lot of young innovators coming into the game, whether it's through apps or through other programs, or just ideas saying, hey, you know what, I'd like to play this game, but I just don't have that time. I just don't have, I just don't want to right now. Maybe down the road I might, but right now I want to be introduced to the game, but I don't have the time that I can dedicate. And even instruction has had to adapt as well. I mean, it used to be an hour-long lesson or sometimes even more. Even 30-minute lessons now, people don't want that anymore. They want to get taught online. And there's, people are going online to get their information more so than they are going to the golf course. So again, this is why the academies have to make changes. They're bringing in simulators and things like that, and they're building the simulators in such a way that they're, they may offer refreshments or game night or something like that. They're having to be very creative, and it's really being driven by a lot of the younger generation coming in saying, you said it's going to be fun, so let's make it fun.
Yeah.
And that's why Topgolf was, went the way it did, is because people thought, hey, this is pretty cool. It wasn't about the golf. It was really about the entertainment experience. And it just happened to have a golf was the vessel that they used to, and, it built up to, a $1 billion industry. So, and, up in Manhattan, New York, I mean, I know companies that have indoor simulators right downtown Manhattan, and you can go in there and it's almost like going to the gym. You want to go in for an hour and, play Pebble Beach, or you want to play whatever, you can go in and do that and don't even have to touch grass. So, I mean, there's so many components to this. And I don't know if you go down to the PGA show in January, down in Orlando. But over the last few years, if you look at, the way the trends are, more and more simulators are, you're seeing down. I mean, 5 years ago, there might have been a couple. Now there's probably 20 simulators at the PGA show every year, and probably going to be more again this year, because everybody recognizes that they have to diversify their businesses. So I want to ask you just a couple of more questions as we get ready to wrap up. I mentioned we were going to talk a little bit about you, and that's some of the cuisine. So obviously, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Montreal is famous for some of its cuisine. Great restaurants in downtown Montreal and surrounding areas. Nat, do you have a favorite? What's popular in Montreal for those who've never been?
Oh, well, I mean, you have to say Schwartz's, because that's smoked meat, and that's what Montreal is known for. If you don't bring that one up, I don't know if you've ever been to Montreal, but it is a great spot. You need to get a Schwartz's smoked meat sandwich. I'm a big fan of Satay Brothers in St. Henry, in the southwest of the city. It's kind of Vietnamese, Southeast Asian food. It's absolutely amazing. Really, back to that idea of recreational golf, that place is all about having fun, getting in there. It's a quick, short experience, and the food is simply incredible. But really throughout the city, there's some incredible spots. There's new restaurants, Le Violon, which is done by Danny Smiles, a Top Chef Canada finalist who's great. It's right by our office. So if you come down, Ted, I'll have to take you out there. But I mean, there's no short, there's no shortness of fun, especially in the summertime. I don't think there's a better city in Canada than Montreal.
Yeah, Montreal has some great diversity there in not only the culture, but just, food second to none. I mean, I hate to say this, but I've lived around Toronto for many, many years, and there's some good restaurants, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't come close to the cuisine in Montreal. So if you're planning on a trip, a lot of great golf courses in Montreal and Quebec in general. But if you want to visit, there's a lot of great restaurants in Montreal to go and eat. So you'll never go hungry, put it that way.
Yeah.
Lastly, we're going to touch on, this is unrelated to golf, unrelated to food, but we're a couple of Hockey Night in Canada boys.
Okay.
I don't watch it as much. I got to be honest. I was sad to hear that you're an Ottawa Senators fan. I'm a Leaf fan. Was formerly a Montreal Canadian. They got to be concerned in Quebec right now that you bailed on the Montreal Canadiens and you're voting for Ottawa. So what's the deal here?
Well, so I mean, I was close. I live closer to Ottawa than I do to Montreal, and I mean, I can tell you, it was when I started working at the office, I was not a big hit. That I was an Ottawa Senators fan. I think that was my fun fact when I started at Lightspeed and got some booze. But so I grew up, my dad was an Ottawa Senators fan. We had a really good run in the early to mid 2000s, and then it has been absolute despair. We did make the playoffs this year for the first time in quite a few years, which is extremely exciting. We battled your Leafs. We lost, but I think we put up a pretty good fight. I'm unwilling to change because, and I'll say it on the air, the Montreal Canadiens fans are insufferable. Whether they're and if they're doing well, you never hear the end of it. So I'm happy with my choice.
Yeah, just make sure you hide when you're talking hockey out in public, and don't put down the Montreal Canadian fans, because they'll hunt you down like a pack of wolves. Let me tell you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure I'll get some grief on that.
Oh, I'm sure you will, especially from your office. But all kidding aside, as I was telling you on our call last week, that following the Leafs, if anybody out there knows what I'm talking about, a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, we've had many years where there was nothing happening in our end. So I know exactly what it's like to have some bad seasons. But you know what? There's again, much like golf, there's a camaraderie in hockey, and obviously as Canadians, that's our sport. Unlike certainly we enjoy baseball and football and that as well. But Canada hockey is our big thing, and golf I think comes in a close second. But it's just one of those things. It's interesting to learn about a little bit more about Lightspeed, and it's interesting to have you, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing that. Any final thoughts, and any parting words that you want to share with our audience and anybody that wants to maybe learn more information about Lightspeed? Is there a website that they can go and check it out?
Yeah, you can go on to lightspeed.com and check it out and learn more. I'm happy for you to reach out to me directly on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to have a conversation. Always love to know what's going on in the industry. I think, Ted, you brought up some incredible points and thoughts today on where the industry's headed. I'm super excited and bullish on where golf can go. And I encourage any feedback, things like that on how you feel Lightspeed can grow, be better support you. So I'm always looking to hear from our customers and learn more. And Ted, thanks for all you're doing for the industry. I think it's important to have these conversations and have those opinions and figure out how we can all work together to grow this game.
Yeah, I always enjoy one of the things this is my 13th season doing this show, and I always enjoy as you do meeting new people, and this is a little bit different way of meeting them, obviously, than face to face, but this is part of the technological age. But I appreciate what you bring to the industry as well. Obviously, a fresh approach and obviously a love of the game and humility. I think it's important in any business to have some humility as well and say, I don't know everything, and I'm always willing to learn and grow with it. And I think that's important for our industry. And I think, as I alluded to earlier, that was something that the industry, it took a pandemic to get us to get back on a more steady course. But I think it's going to serve the industry well in the long run. And I think a lot of people are excited about that. But I want to thank you for joining and being my very special guest this evening. And again, go to lightspeed.com if you want to get more information on their company. And I'm sure a lot of the contact information is there. You can reach out, and I'm sure you'll be happy, as you said, through social media and that, to have some conversations and bring them up to speed. And obviously, if you're a golf course operator and you're not currently working with Lightspeed, you can reach out to them as well and learn more about their business. I'm sure they'll be happy to step up and answer any questions that you might have. But on that note, Fraser, again, thank you very much. Hang tight for a second. I'm just going to wrap up. I want to also thank my guest earlier this evening, my very special guest on the Coach's Corner panel, Jon Decker. Thank you, as always, for bringing your best to the show. Also, my special travel guest, my good friend, Robert Kaufman, co-host and travel expert, along with our special travel guest of the evening, Jose Marcellan from the Solmar Golf Links in Cabo San Lucas. Thank you, Jose, for joining us and bringing us some insight into your property down there, and a great place to go and visit and just unwind and have maybe a few margaritas after your round and maybe a little spa. Get spoiled with some spa treatment. But and certainly last but not least, again, a special thanks to Fraser Marriott, head of golf for Lightspeed. So on that note, I will see you next week right here on Golf Talk Live. God bless everybody and have a great week.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's broadcast of Golf Talk Live. We'd like to thank this week's Coach's Corner panel, and a special thank you to tonight's guest. Remember to join Ted every Thursday from 6 to 8 p.m. Central on Golf Talk Live. And be sure to follow Ted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you're interested in being a guest on Golf Talk Live, send Ted an email at ted.golftalklive@gmail.com. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.